Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another deck profile. Today we have a first place list from the DBS Asian Online Regional event, and of all things, it's Dark Broly. Man, this is crazy. Super huge shout out to the guys that always get me these lists from the Asian regional events. I really do appreciate it. They do just immediately send me the info whenever an event of theirs takes place, and I really do appreciate it. Shout out to all those guys, and also shout out to DBS Deck Planet for being an awesome sponsor. Incredible tool for this community. But with that being said, we'll get into this deck profile. If you are new here, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you don't miss a video, and if you guys want to help support the channel, many ways down in the description to do so, as always. But if you guys want to buy the cards for this deck, or any trading card game cards for that matter, it really does help me out if you use my link in the description to TCG Player. That being said, let's get into this. I didn't want to do a whole meta breakdown because there's only one event. Normally I've been doing multiple events, but I do have the top 8 for the DBS Asian regional event, so I'll list that off. So we had first place Dark Broly, second place Green Broly BR Hand Control, third place Gogeta Xeno, fourth place King Piccolo, fifth place Gogeta Xeno, sixth place Green Gotenks, seventh place SS4 Vegeta, 8th place Yellow Trunks. I'm gonna copy paste that down in the pinned comment, as well as some notes from these guys, so you guys can check that out. I will post that as soon as I get the opportunity to. But anyways, let's get into this. Look how many errated cards there are and how successful this deck still is. That's pretty crazy. But anyways, all right, first things first, we have 3 copies of Thwarting the Dark Empire, so this is a thwarting deck. I'm pretty surprised only 3 copies, but I mean, it's not super synergistic with your leader in the sense that you don't really want to see it off the top 5, but I still think 4 of is probably appropriate here. This is a 54 card list, by the way, so when you're playing a larger deck size, I mean, maybe you want to make sure you have 4 of this, but it is unique. I mean, I don't know, 3's not the worst. 3 copies of Broly Unbridled Destruction. This card's always been a really big help against slower control decks that are able to floodgate you out. This just pretty much pushes through burn damage. Pretty cheap, especially in those longer games, so that's really cool. 3 copies of Dark Broly Uncontrollable Berserker, 1 copy of Dark Broly New Mass Saiyan, and 4 copies of Dark Broly Demon Realm Ravager. So keep in mind, these have all been errated to now have a 1 black cost to use your activate main to play them from the drop area, but you know, that makes this deck not inherently turbo broken, but these cards still being 1 drop 30Ks that have really good effects, these cards are still powerful, guys. Like, we saw Dark Broly do well. I think it was in a European event as well, maybe either first or third place there. I can't exactly remember, but still, like, Dark Broly has been putting up some results. Not like anything crazy numbers wise, but the deck is still powerful in what it does, so it's worth to keep in mind, kind of know what these lists look like and know what they do. 2 copies of Dark Power Black Mass Saiyan, probably just a best of 1 tech. This was a best of 1 event. This card's good in mainly the Yellow Trunks matchup from my experience, if you can get it down on turn 1 before they get their blocker on board. But besides that, in this deck, I can see it being used as a self-awaken option as well. Definitely, you know, an on-color card for this type of deck, so that's pretty cool. 1 copy of Time SCR. Okay, this is pretty interesting. I think in this deck, you can play Pan. I think you can spam a board wide enough to do that. But, I mean, Kai is still very strong, right? Like, maybe you have a hard time with unisons like Blue Boo Unison or Yellow Machikabura Unison. Kai is still really good for that. Although I will say, now that these guys cost 1, I would like my SCR to be free, but I mean, it's just a meta call, right? If you really need to remove unisons, if you really need to clear boards, I can totally see Kai being great. And like in the King Piccolo matchup, for example, which is arguably the best deck in the current format, having this to wipe their unison as well as the rest of their board, definitely not a bad thing at all. Then we have 2 copies of Kai Negate. Yeah, this card's just good right now. Boards are going very wide. Gogeta Xeno, which are kind of like mirror matches for this deck. King Piccolo, U7, just being able to negate 1 attack, warp another threat, and then combo this off to stop another attack. This can potentially stop 3 attacks for 1 card, so that's definitely pretty good. I've never been too big on this card, but in this type of format in particular, it does seem like a pretty good call. Then we have 4 copies of Brainwash. So Brainwash is really cool in this deck because with it being a 30k and your leader being able to pitch it off the top 5 and all that good stuff, as well as putting black battle cards back into your drop area, Brainwash can actually set up really big turns for you. Like, over on this, put 3 back, use your leader effect, either mill 3 more or return 3 if you're on your awakened side, play a Dark Broly, and this card's free itself when you overwhelm it, and then the defensive capabilities are pretty good as well. So yeah, this card in this deck makes sense to me as a 4 of. 1 copy of Furry Construction Champa, just making sure we can drop those double strikes. 1 of this makes sense to me now because, again, these guys all do cost 1. Like, being able to use a Champa on a free Dark Broly used to be super broken because, like, how are you ever comboing out of a 40k double strike, right? But now these guys cost 1. Playing less Champas does make sense to me. 2 copies of Fearless Fusion. I've seen Dark Broly lists that go a lot more like gung-ho on the Gogeta stuff and play like 4 thwarting and 4 Fearless Fusion, but I mean, playing a small engine of it also makes sense. I do like Fearless Fusion though in this type of deck because again, that yellow Trunks matchup, you can knock out their blocker, which has barrier. That's tough for a lot of decks to deal with, but your deck does have an inherent way to do it, which is pretty cool. 4 copies of Vegeta, Fane, Greeting. This is definitely going to drive the price of this deck up quite a bit. But of course, it is one of our fusion materials, followed by 4 copies of Goku Beyond All Limits. So not only are these cards just like good overwhelms in this type of deck, but yes, your leader can find them off the top 5, put them in the drop area, kind of just creating food and fuel for your other Dark Broly's. And then they are fusion materials for your Gogeta. And that's what's always been really cool about Gogeta themed Dark Broly decks, is that, you know, you're warping a lot of these cards to play your Dark Broly's. And, you know, they used to be free, which made it a lot more powerful. But you're putting those Gokus and Vegetas in the warp to then, you know, play with thwarting or play with Fearless Fusion, put them back in the drop, and now you're refueling for another Dark Broly. That's a really, really cool synergy this deck has going for it. 1 copy Petrification. I think this is fine. Again, in the best of 1, like 1 pet makes a lot of sense. In this format, I do think Kai is a bit better. Petrification is really, really good at stopping boss monsters, and it's still got its warrant in this meta, right? Like against the U7 matchup, stopping their Goku Ultra Mastery is really, really good, but I think general case usage, Kai is probably just a little bit better. 3 copies of Support of the Dark Empire. Yeah, it makes sense. Free negate. A lot of your offensive plays now are, you know, costing you energy, so why not just have a negate that is free? That makes perfect sense to me. Then we have 4 copies of Vegeta Prince Strikes Back, best super combo you can play in this deck. Oh, one thing I want to mention too about Support of the Dark Empire is that, you know, you actually do want a lot more free defense now that your leader's been errated. You can only use the free combo ability on a 30k once per turn. And as far as 0 combo cost cards go, we only have, what, 8 of them, which is not too bad. I mean, back in the day, Dark Broly used to play like anywhere like 20, maybe a little bit less than that. And you'll notice here there's no like 1-drop Broly and Red Ball engine. That's the old engine that was very popular for setting up Dark Broly's. You can't really afford to play it nowadays because again, your Dark Broly's all cost an energy. That guy costs energy for you to play him. You can't combo with him, and you got to play the I think it's a 6-drop ball potentially in your deck, and that takes up a lot of space. And if you're trying to fit this Gogeta engine, I mean, it just doesn't make sense to play that engine anymore, unfortunately. Probably not going to be very good unless they make some sort of like, I don't know, retrained Dark Broly archetype. But yeah, as of right now, that doesn't make sense to play. 2 copies Demigra. In the past, this has been one of the best turn 2 plays in this deck. So again, I'm not super surprised to see it. I can definitely see this being better in the slower matchups, like the blue matchups, maybe some yellow matchups, just to grind out your opponents. Again, if they're able to floodgate you pretty effectively, this card makes a lot of sense. 1 4-star ball. I'm assuming we'll see a Kid Ku in here somewhere. We have 2 copies of Super Kamehameha, your answer to floodgates. And nice thing about this deck, just like Gogeta Xeno, is you can get yourself down to 4 life very easily. I do imagine though you're going to be using a life for this a lot of the time because again, all our battle cards now pretty much cost energy except for our overwhelms. But I mean, the fact that you can use it for free, see another card, stop a Robotic Repose, stop an Oceanus, that's going to help you go for game. If your opponent can't floodgate you, like if you're able to establish a couple 30ks that your opponent either can't remove or you're able to just play multiple of them in one turn, and you stop your opponent's floodgate and they're tapped out or don't have any other defenses, you're going to push for game. Like that's always been the thing about Dark Broly, is that you just put out so many 30k attacks for that become too much for your opponent to deal with. And that's, you know, pretty much the same premise here, except again, halted a little bit because of the erratas. 2 copies of Protector of the People. Okay, this is actually a little bit surprising, but now that I think about it, it actually makes perfect sense in this meta. I mean, King Piccolo, again, being one of the best decks. This just seems like a little bit negate heavy, I guess. But I mean, when you're playing best of 1, you're trying as best as you can to like fit all the tech possible in your deck, right? So I mean, that does make sense to me, I will say. 2 copies of Kid Goku. Okay, so this is actually a pretty interesting engine here. So 2 Kid Gokus, 1 4-star ball. Obviously, you're not very likely to see this Kid Goku on turn 1, but that seems to be okay. What I'm thinking this is just like a very simple resource engine where you can search for the 4-star ball, and now you have a discard outlet for your Petrification and for your Protector of the People. You know, 3 different cards you want to pitch for, as well as anything else. Like if this was best of 3, anything you might side deck, you could also discard for. And as long as you have Kid Goku on the board, you pick the ball back up. This is a really cool engine, especially in the upcoming Toa deck, where I'm actually playing 4 copies of Kid Goku, and I think I'm playing 3 4-star balls at the moment. Anything that has a discard cost, like in that deck, for example, your leader has a discard cost, and in this deck, you've got a few extra cards that do it. This is a really good engine, especially being in black. You can always search 4-star balls, charge them. That's really great value. And the final card in the main deck, Gravy in Demigra's Thrall. This has always been a really, really good playmaker in Dark Broly for putting cards back into your drop area. So this deck seems to be very, very heavy on that type of combo with 3 copies of Gravy and 4 copies of Brainwash. That is a really cool thing to pull off. Basically, combo Gravy or play Brainwash, put some fuel back into your drop area, and now you can go to town playing a bunch of Dark Broly's as long as you have energy to do so. But this is the list in its entirety, guys. Very interesting Dark Broly list. The other one I think was posted on one of the EU YouTube channels. I'm not sure exactly which channel it was, but I'm sure if those guys end up watching this, they'll link it down in the comments. I would appreciate that, guys. But yes, here's the list. Again, I'll post the link down in the pinned comment. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Yo, Dragon Ballers, just want to say thank you guys so much for watching the video. Really do appreciate it. If you guys wouldn't mind subscribing, it would really help me out a lot.
Joey, are you doing another Dragon Ball video?
Yeah, obviously.
Dude, didn't you hear? As it stands, Digimon is kicking our ass.